working on the core a little bit, which is always a good exploration. And what core means, of course, is part of the mystery. I had a teacher named Arthur Kalmuri who was kind of a rogue Iyengar teacher. He'd gone off the rails, as most of the good ones do. And he gave a workshop on core, which asked the question, what is core? And his answer in general was that every piece of the body could be considered core. So as you come to sit, right away you'll notice that you need some amount of core strength to come to Sukhasana, even though Sukha means easy, of course. For some people, just sitting cross-legged is not an easy proposition, and they tend to slump down, and they can also overarch, be over-aggressive in the psoas and in the paraspinals, creating distress or too much collapse. So we want to move back and forth as we do often, but just start with a preliminary arching and rounding by being a little more subtle. So instead of trying to pull with the hands and push with the hands, just have a sense of lifting the side body, inhale, and exhale, press into the back of the sitting bones. And feel, if you close your eyes, the front and the backs of the sit bones. And so this becomes more of a pelvic maneuver. If the core is really engaged, then thinking, I'm up in my upper body, I'm going to yank myself up or reach my arms up and get into the attic, so to speak, just rocking on the hips. So this, after a while, could be hard to do. And let's start to move it into a little bit of a bigger action, holding the knees, using the arms to pull a little bit, elbows out, broaden the chest, and then press. Once you have that core engaged, of course, to come back into flexion, come up into an easy boat, and switch legs becomes not so hard proposition if these transverse abdominals are working. So you can keep your hands on your knees or begin to spy on the transverse abdominals by taking just a finger in each hand and pushing into space just above the frontal hip bones. Inhale, you can feel a cavitation in here, drawing in. And exhale, you'll feel tense. And you can play with lifting and crossing if you want, or just feel the dimpling, so to speak, across this, called the kangaroo pouch. So this is part of the puzzle of connecting the upper body and the lower body so they can move in some sort of synchronicity. Let's take a little twist over to the right just to unwind, but notice whether you've lost that connection before. If you do, then yanking the body, yanking the spine without the slight dimpling in, so to speak, of those points in front of the frontal hip bones creates a problem or an asymmetry for the hips. Inhale, exhale, you switch the cross. Inhale, feel these points pull in, and then come into your twist and think of the lower body still slightly engaged. And Eve had a question about Uddiyana Bandha, which is the upward lifting belly. So this, in a way, starts to address that bind, so to speak, but it's really a transfer station as well. So with the drawing in of these points, you can move freely about the cabin without too much distress or injury. Let's work this another way by using our breath to take an inhale and exhale, let out all the breath, opening the mouth. And inhale, drawing in, and exhale. Now, can you do it in 3 pieces, just known as Via Loma? Inhale once, twice, 3 times, and then exhale, let it all out. One more, and then you're going to hold the end of the exhale. Inhale, twice, 3 times, push it, let it all out. Fold as much as you can. Hold the exhale, hold the breath. Now, take a false inhale, pull into the belly, and then release. It's a little sophisticated if you haven't tried it. Let's try it one more time. The end of the exhale, the forward fold, and some of you can go all the way down. You're going to hold the exhale, the end of it, and then pull into those points without actually inhaling. Here we go. Exhale first. Inhale. Twice. 3 times. Now exhale. Hold the breath. But take a false inhale. Just pull in without inhaling. And release. So hopefully that makes sense, but we'll cover it again. And so this Uddiyana Bandha, which is just the action without even using the inhale necessarily, of drawing the low belly, the folds of the belly in. And that will become important. So let's move on and let's take our straps around the feet. And since there are a bunch of rowers in the group, and maybe wannabe rowers, we're going to do a little rowing. And first what we do is just to pull on the strap, the elbows out, and bend the knees. And feel those points in the belly. Inhale, and then exhale, lean back and straighten the legs. Inhale, elbows out, pull the transverse abdominals in, and exhale, release. And just go back and forth, bend, and straighten, and lean back like a water skier. Retract the shoulder blades as the elbows come out. Protract. Now, the next time you lean back, can you let the strap slide a little through your hands and hang on here? The slightly rounded spine, the belly drawn in so the core is active. Then inhale, come up and go back a little more deeply. Inhale, find your Uddiyana Bandha, there's points in the belly. Exhale. Just start to work to your own measure. And since I can't see your screen, you can work to a greater or lesser degree. But we're starting to connect the arms and the legs. And in between, hopefully we've got our core muscles starting to activate. Before we get too far, let's come up and take the strap into the ball mount of the left foot. And we'll just work with the left leg. So bend the left knee, inhale, draw the chest toward the knee, and then exhale, straighten and lean back. Just start to pump and pull. Notice on the inhale, we're not only coming toward the knee, but the knee's coming toward us. As I pull or dimple or retract into the left belly. And those that wanted to get a little more sophisticated could start to play games with the more difficult postures. But just to find this connection to the core, the arms and the legs is sufficient for now. Let's switch legs. Bend the right knee. Elbows wing out. And again, I'm pulling myself, but I'm also feeling the cavitation in the right side belly to bring the knee to me, and then exhale. Simple, and you can go back as far as you want. It's good. Can we come back to cross legs for a second before we get too far? Now I want you to roll on your right pelvic half. And as you do this, you can take your left fingers and dig in to this, what I'm calling the dimple, or the middle of the rising of the psoas muscle, and just dig in there and feel how eventually you wouldn't need any hands to just hula hoop around that right hip. Then can you go to the other hip, dig in with your left fingers? Either direction will work. So you want to be just gently scooping in and feeling this muscle activate. And then of course, if you hula hooped in both directions. And so this gets into a practice which is a little more esoteric in yoga called Nauli, which I won't demonstrate today, but it's called stomach churning, and it helps your digestion. And so the belly is moving in a kind of figure eight pattern with this pulling or suctioning in, and it just moves the digestive organs. But it's also a way that I can move freely around the hip capsules, engaging the core. We'll play with it on our backs in a moment. So let's straighten our legs again. Take the strap around the left foot. Now can you pull that left leg up a bit and push and pull in midair. It's too hard to do with the right leg extended. You can bend it. And now we're a little bit in Pilates class. Inhale, pulling, and then exhale, pressing. And let's switch legs. We get a visit from our local farmer during the class. Okay, so how much can you lean back in this half pose? Pulling and pushing. And then can you go all the way onto your back? And try the left leg on your back. Pulling and pushing, which we've done before. But now can you feel how the core is a little more engaged, having done our work seated. So you push and pull the left leg toward you and away. Hold the strap, as we've done before, the straight left leg, left hand on the strap, take the leg out to the side. And maybe you can take your right fingers to the plot of your belly now. Feel this muscle engaged. Inhale back to center. And release. Take the strap around the right foot. Push and pull. Class, so if you're going to be rolling, I'll have to take it inside. So yeah. You can do another area for a bit. Well, we'll get down there, but it's only going to be like 5 minutes, only 10 minutes. It won't be very long. You know what I mean? Yeah, that might allow me to at least switch my class inside that. I'm going to just turn the screen because we have a little disturbance going on. You can keep working on your. Where should we do this? That's pretty good. You look at your screen. Okay. And let's try this again. Okay. So let's work back on the right leg for a second from our seated position, pushing and pulling, and just feel this engagement of the right psoas. And then you might be able to go glide all the way back and do the same thing on the floor. But feeling a little more core, and then straightening the right leg, holding the strap ends in the right hand and taking the right leg out to the right, and then maybe taking your left fingers into that pot or that dimple right in front of the frontal hip bone as you come into the pose so you can spy on the core. Come back to center and release. Let's release the strap for a second. Lay the legs long and take our hands once again, or fingers, to this transverse abdominal area. Inhale, pull the left knee toward us. Feel the depression in these points, and exhale, straighten. So just going for a walk. Inhale, pull right knee toward, exhale away. And just going for a walk. So you can either keep your hands here, or go ahead and take the right knee into both hands. But this is now as we hold gently the right knee, or keep our hands in the psoas muscle where it transits the transverse abdominals, still core engaged. And then we're going to make little circles. So for the beginners, you're probably going to want to hold that right leg and stir the pot. Advanced students could just keep your hands in these, we'll call them spy portals, and rotate the leg without the use of the hands in both directions, going as wide a circle as you want. And then let's switch. Put the right leg down, pull the left knee in. Again, advanced students who start to circle, and beginners or those with a little back distress, use your hands as a secondary stabilizer. And then straighten both legs. So now you can feel the legs have been toned somewhat as you push the backs of the legs down into the ground. And take your hands now behind your head. Inhale and exhale. Just lift the head up an inch, like you're peering down at your toes. Inhale, glide the head back. Keep the tone of the legs, the heels down, and then exhale. Just take a peek. So this is like we had the strap earlier. Inhale and exhale. So what's required as you do this several times is that you feel the tone starting in the belly, taking the frontal ribs with them, and then the head comes up. So can we do this motion and combine it with the pulling of the knee toward us? Inhale, glide the head, back of the head back, tone the legs, tone the dimples, the Uddiyana Bandha, and then exhale, the head comes up and the left knee comes up as well. Glide back as the leg straightens, and exhale, the knee and the head come up. And just start to work in a very small way. So I'm not pulling on the head. In fact, my fingers are in the back of the suboccipitals, which are remaining soft so that spongy tissue underneath the base of the skull is not getting super tense. Can we do a little rotation? When the left knee comes in, the right elbow comes toward it. Inhale back and exhale, right elbow to left knee. So again, you've done this in exercise or Pilates class many times, but usually they overdo the rotation and the lift of the head, and there's no awareness of this pot of the belly. 2 more should work well. And then we'll lay the head down, lay the arms down. And let's pull both knees into the hands and let the lower back round a bit, spread the knees wide, and just start to massage the low back by rolling back and forth on your low back, pulling the knees toward you on inhale and away. Again, if you just did this manually, like a physical therapist sometimes or a masseuse works with you, it could be good, but also could be too much. So if we release the arms and try to do it with our own muscular power and just pulling those dimples, transverse abdominals in toward us, and exhale, release. And then set the feet down for a second. Once again, taking the hands to the points in front of the frontal hip bones. And inhale, arching this low back, and exhale, round. And just letting the knees move away, and then toward. And then exhale the knees over to the left. And start to push the right knee on the diagonal until the right hip comes off the ground. But still, it's interesting if you can feel this pot of the psoas gets a little stretch now as the right knee moves on the diagonal away from you. Inhale to center, and the knees go over to the right. And keeping the finger on these little pots in the belly, push the left knee on the diagonal and feel the stretch of the psoas through the left inner knee. Again, we're just creating awareness. And then as we take the soles of the feet together, the knee wide, both knees wide, rather, we have Supta Baddha Konasana, which is opening the inner legs and giving us a little more access to this more mysterious core. Arms can come out to the sides or goalpost. So just by warming up the transverse abdominals and the psoas muscles, this pose may feel more accessible to you. And let's bring the knees back to the center line, cross the right knee over the left. Your arms can be in goalpost or straight out from the body. Taking an inhale to rock the hips away, and then exhale, glide the knees over to the right and the head to the left. Inhale, knees to center, head to center. Exhale again, knees to right, head to left. Just start to work at your own pace and see if you can still feel, in this case, the left pot of the belly, the left psoas being dragged long in the way we just did with open legs. Coming back to center with your knees crossed, can you squeeze the knees into the body? And some of you can hike your hands down your shins, or even grab your feet and just make a little sandwich. Let's release, uncross, and try the other side. The left knee over the right, arms straight out or goalposts. Inhale, glide the hips away from you, arching the low back. Exhale, knees to left, head to right. Inhale to center, and exhale, knees to left, head to right. As you do this, try to keep your mind on the right pot of the belly, or the rising of the psoas muscle, and maybe you can feel it get a stretch on the exhale through that inside of that right leg. The left leg is gently pulling the right knee over to the side. Come back to center and squeeze your cross knees as much as you can, and maybe taking the hands down toward the ankles or even to the soles of the feet. Let's release the legs for a second and keep them bent. Take your strap and take the hands up to the sky, holding the strap like a trapeze bar. And we've done this in the past. And as you inhale, reaching the arms back to the floor beyond you, so the knuckles are placed on the floor, and the low back is arched. Exhale, bring the strap straight overhead and flatten the back. Inhale, reach back, inhale, and exhale, bring the arms straight overhead. So for beginners, this is sufficient, but I want you to feel those psoas muscles engaging on the inhale and exhale, keeping them toned. And then can you float the shins parallel to the floor? So the shins are hovering, feet are lifted, and inhale, reach back, and exhale, bring the strap. So we're doing chair pose, but really feeling the core work necessary to hold the legs in this right angle configuration. And you can hone it down as much as you like. And the next time the arms come up to the sky, keep them straight up, keep the shins hovering, inhale, and exhale, just move the arms to the right, the knees to the left. Inhale to center, exhale, knees right, arms left. Just moving to your own degree. So again, we don't want to move off the midline too much at the cost of losing the core. And you pardon the noise this morning with the local farmer mowing. It's all part of the Zoom extravaganza. Now, while we're up, let's take the strap and loop it over the tops of the knees and the shins. And as we place the feet down for bridge, let the strap travel down the shin bones to the ankles. The arms still long and holding the strap. Spin the inner wrist to the sky, roll the shoulders back, and exhale, up come the hips. Do it a few times, lowering down, inhale, roll the shoulders back, exhale. Press the shins into the strap. And as you do this several times, coming up and down, can you also feel the psoas muscle here? In the same way we did earlier in the two exercises of twisting, the pots of the belly and the inner legs moving away and getting a nice stretch, rather than just pushing the hips up to the sky and torturing the low back. One more. And then coming down, releasing the strap for the moment, arms out to the sides, and once again drop the knees to the left, and this time take the head to the right. Inhale to center, and drop the knees to the right, head to the left. Come back to center, and straighten your legs now, and see if you can find that tone, maybe taking the fingers, the pots of the psoas again, and just dimpling in with a false inhale, so to speak, contracting and feeling how the legs tend to tone with this contracting or dimpling in. Now reach the arms back with the straight legs, inhale, and exhale like we're doing a push-up to the sky. Inhale back, and exhale up. Now the difference here is I'm not arching and rounding the low back. I'm keeping the stabilization of the core and the hips by this
drawing in and suctioning in these pods of the belly. And then extra credit, once the hands come up, the head comes up. Reach back and come up. This is too hard on your neck. You can scoop your hands and support the head as we did earlier. And then we'll try to do a yoga sit-up for some advanced students coming up. And see if you can come up, spin the palms to the sky, reach up, and exhale, lower down. Beginners stay on the ground. Inhale and exhale. You can bend the knees if you want, like we did before, but now we're going to reach up and then sink down. Remember, we have the strap. Glide back, glide up, reach up, and now like you're catching a falling object, and lay down. One more, and if you're still on your back, you can hold your knees and rock up to Navasana. If you come up in the advanced form, everyone bend your knees and hold your outer knee creases. And now, instead of having a strap like we did earlier, pulling, we're just going to hold the outer knee creases, feel this dimpling in, and float the legs up. So it's all coming from here. Let's cross our ankles and move on. And sit back in child's pose for a moment with the hips down, the knees wide. Make sure the low back is feeling okay. As you're in child's pose, you can draw the belly in just a bit, so that in Hatha Yoga practice, this Uddiyana Bandha, upward lifting belly, you might think of it as inward lifting belly, is helping spread the fibers to the low back. Let's come to hands and knees and play with a common motion of cat and cow, which we've done many times. Inhaling, stretching the psoas as the chest comes forward, and exhale, contracting. And then we can glide the right leg back as we look forward and knee to nose. So as you do this motion we've done many times, can you feel more how the core is working? Keep that right leg back and place the toes down for a second. Start to push back just a little bit. And then see if you can reach forward through the left arm and drop your head down. And then drag the hands together, drag the knees together. The left leg goes back on inhale and under. And then holding the left leg aloft, placing the toes down, sinking back, pushing back, and stretching the right arm long, and bowing in. And then coming up and doing cat and cow once again, but with a change. So as we inhale and arch, and exhale, contracting into those pods of the belly. Remember the false inhale. Got our hips locked. And keep them that way as you just float the head forward. So now we're getting sophisticated. Let's try it again. Inhale, allow the hips to arch back. Exhale, lock the core. Keep it locked. Now lift the chest. And this is what we want in downward dog. So as I tuck my shirt in, I am also thinking of tucking in my inner shirt to these points as we come into our first downward dog. So arching in cat, let the hips go back, just a common pattern, create a little space, then just pull the hips knees, curl the toes under, lift the chest, and start to draw back into downward dog. So look at the toes, bend the knees, and keeping the arms long, take that false inhale to pull into those pots of the belly, and then release the heels toward the ground. Inhale forward to high plank. Exhale, drop the knees down. Let's try it again. So again, most people will arch in any of the yoga poses, including chair. The hips a little bit too much back. Rein it in. Find your core. Now, lift up like you're going to do a cobra without kicking the butt back and slide into downward dog. Inhale forward, high plank. Keeping that false inhale to pull into the belly. Drop the knees. One more time. Allow the hips to go back, chest to come forward. Exhale, rein it in. Take that false inhale. Chest flows forward. And then downward dog. Let's step the feet to the hands, lengthen to a flat back. By taking the hands to the shin. You can bend the knees. And once again, if I had my hands in my transverse abdominals, psoas, I'd be pulling in and pulling the core into a strong position. Let's forward fold, keeping that lift of the belly, and see if it feels a little different. Flat back again. Again, inhale, pull back into the pots of the belly, and then come up into your chair pose and stand. Once again, take your hands to the pots of the belly, right in here. Inhale, scoop in, sink the legs down. Then let the arms follow. Keeping your core, just lean forward, Ardha Utkatasana. And now you have your core strength from a different perspective. Fold. Bend the knees, flat back. Again, I'm pulling in here. Arms come up and stand. So let's move on from here, taking chair pose by scooping into the pot of the belly. There's somewhere pulling my hips down, my arms up. Forward fold. Right foot back, warrior one. Inhaling, coming up. And let's take the hands to the hips. And again, find these points. So again, a lot of people are going to look in yoga class are going to look like so, with no core. So we lift the back heel and just start to drop the right knee down. We can play with finding our core a little more easy. And then see if you can keep that engagement as you stretch the right heel back to warrior one. Let's find plank pose. Front foot to back. Drop the knees. And this time, we're going to glide through the chest, swinging through the gate of the arms, up into cobra. But look down, half bend the arms. Spread the toes apart. And then press back to child's pose. Inhale up to hands and knees. And do the setup we did earlier. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. Set your core right here. Keep it with that belly drawing in. Now, spaciousness in the chest, toes curl under. And the best of both worlds. I have the lifting of the chest, scooping of the belly, and brings me right up with the hips. That lifting from the frontal hip points. Look forward, step or jump, feet to hands. Lengthen to a flat back, but not randomly, from the core. And fold down. And the knees move into transverse abdominals. Arms come up and then stand. Other side. Once again, every time you inhale, in a sense, you're engaging core. Exhale, fold, left foot back, warrior one. And then what's happened? A lot of times, because this pose takes the hips out of symmetry, the core disengages because we want to try and get that back foot back, heel. So let's give that up for a second. At Kripalu, they don't even teach warrior one anymore, so I'm told. Let's lift the back heel, bend the back knee, and feel if we can re-engage in these points. And then maybe you can get or keep this engagement. Maybe you can. And then find your plank pose. Core still engaged. Beginners, you're going to drop the knees and go through cobra. Advanced students, they pull into the belly. I start to pull the wrist back toward the knees and hover. Chaturanga Dandasana. And come all the way up to upward dog. And migrate back to down dog. Let's once again jump or step, feet to hands, lengthen and fold. And the knees, and when you do, engage the core. Arms swing up and stand. Grab your strap. Let's play a little bit with things we've been doing already, but now adding this piece of core engagement, which in yoga we call Uddiyana Bandha. We refine it. So we're going to take the strap once again to the feet. And we were here early in class, yes? So what were we doing? We were sitting down and we were pulling the arms apart like rowers. And then we were exhaling and leaning back. So can we do this standing? Bend down, pull, engage the core, and exhale. Pulling the elbows apart, looking forward with a bright, broad chest. And keep the gaze down for now. And now as you stand, push into your strap, and remember the sensation of laying back all the way to your mat, and create kind of a broadened back. So let the shoulder blades protract. This is like an anti-yoga pose. Keep the hands where you can see them and stretch right between the shoulder blades and rhomboids as you forcibly push into your strap. So we're creating, as you release for a second, what's known as a ponic body, or my teacher Richard Freeman would say, we're getting in touch with the reptile body. This is like the angel. Everyone wants to be an angel in yoga, but this is not maybe the devilish side, but the strong side. And so I initiate that pulling out. I push into the back line, so I feel my hammies and my back spread, and it's incredibly strong in the core. So let's step forward with the left foot and back with the right. And we've done this before as we come into warrior one. We're going to use our hands hiking down our strap and start to lean forward. Pull that left belly in, feel that stretch we just had, push into the right leg. Inhale, pull the arms back now. And the body up, and exhale, drop in. So beginners, you're going to stay here. And students, as I come forward, now I can lift the back heel like we did earlier. And lean forward a little bit more. And then let's come up and straighten the front leg and rotate to the right. And take both ends of the strap in the right hand. You can bend the back knee a little to get a bigger grip. And let's take triangle pose. Pushing the back heel, lengthening. But even here, you want to have an engagement in the psoas. And if you need to bend the front knee, you can. But otherwise, remember how we were just standing and I said create the aponic body. So rather than trying to look at the sky so much at first, I want to set the core by lengthening the tailbone and actually looking back to our back toes and scooping in here and creating broadness between the shoulder blades. This is like the anti-trichinosis. But now the hips, like someone's pulling my tail up toward my teeth, I could bite my tail, are set. Now the upper body can lengthen. Let's come up and step the feet together. Try the other side. So we'll transfer the strap to the left heel, step back and try it. We're going to sink down with one hand on each strap, drop the head. Pull the belly in. Broaden the shoulder blades. You should feel a stretch right up the back of the skull. Then inhale, retract, and exhale, drop. So if you're an extremities person, arm and leg person, you've already gone into noticing how strong or weak your arms or legs are, but can you stay in the core? So if we were doing this exercise by not holding the strap, that would feel a little different. So when you get down in the lean, pull that right belly in. Send the right hip back. Then come up, inhale, straightening the front leg, pivoting left, and let the left toes shoot back to 90 degrees a little more. Triangle pose. You're going to inhale, but as we do, remember, the former dancers often come into too much of an extension, losing the core. So you'll get another chance to reset as you lower your right hand, your shin, you can bend the front knee. But look down at first, get the nice stretch through that left neck. And then can you start to pivot to the left? Keep your chin tucked and scoop your tailbone up toward your chin. Setting the strong core as the feet move apart. Then, once the hips are set, rock solid, you can pivot the mid-back up. And then inhale, come up. Stepping the feet together. For the moment, we'll lose the strap and we'll come back to it in a sec. Notice, I planned it this way, but I have to keep on tucking in my shirt to remind you to tuck in your internal shirt. Okay, so as we come into a forward fold, can we take our hands to these points? And we'll take our 3-breath pranayama, viloma. Inhale, once, twice, 3 times. Now let's spill over and keep the hands in the pots of the belly if you can. Drop the head, shake it. The legs can be straightening, but not necessarily. And then transfer the hands to the big toes, the first 2 fingers, knit under the big toes. If your knees are straightened, then the knees come to flat back. Once again, engaging the core, pulling into transverse abdominal psoas, and then exhale, straighten the legs and dive in. Weight comes forward, the outer heel to the toe mound. The elbows stay parted as we started class, pulling the chest toward the feet, gently lengthening the side ribs. Release, feet together, flat back, pulling into core,
Chair pose, and then standing. Very good.
Let's try the strap.
We're doing classical Hatha Yoga this morning, although in a non-classical, a neoclassical format. So now we're going to try to do our extensions of our legs one at a time as we did earlier in class. So take your strap around the right foot to start. And if you are a beginner, the way you can do this is to take the strap end inside the right knee and take your left hand to a chair or wall, and all you're going to be doing is extending and pushing, just like we did earlier in class. If, however, you're a little further along in your practice and you can balance with your arms, how about straightening? And now, just as we did on our backs. And then straighten that right leg and hold the strap ends, left hand to hip, or to wall beginners. And super beginners, you can bend the knee. And let's start to move that right leg out. Push, 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 and stay in your core. And look left. Come back to center, extended leg, and let the strap slide out. So that's a hard move for beginners, but you can use a wall. And we switch to the other leg. And if you're a beginner, take the strap ends inside the left leg. And maybe you're just kind of working here. And you find a wall, you find a chair, balance. Extending and contracting, which it seems to be working from the leg, but it's really the psoas pulling in here and the core and keeping that sense of the leg, which I'll show you in a second. We have the strap as a safety feature, and then the strap is taken into the left hand. You keep the engagement from here, the left paw of the belly. And remember, we did this earlier in class. When you were on your back, you let your leg go out, and I said, take your fingers right in here. And then you come back to center. So you can try that again. Advanced students, take a peek, and I can extend the leg, pulling into the belly, and start to take it forward, like so, with the arm out, as if I were going to touch my forehead to my leg. Just showing that to show you what's possible. And so the leg is extending, and it's true that you need some hamstring flexibility, but what I'm really doing here is pulling into this belly, paw of the belly, as I go forward. And then release. Take a forward fold and iron out the asymmetry. Getting all sorts of, we've gone from bird song to lawnmowers in a single bound. Now let's take the toes out and sit down to Malasana and let the low back have a break. Even this pose, however, is an example of how you can feel or open the back by digging into those creases. And so the
core can be used for stretching in forward folds especially, or strengthening. So Bakasana is also an examination to place your hands and lift your heels, pulling into those transverse abdominals. Now notice I have a chair in front of me, so beginners, take note. Instead of falling on my face, I could place my head down on the chair, and that would be one way to practice. Let's sit down, the hands back, and straighten the legs to Dandasana. We've been working on Marichyasana, so if we were to pull the right leg toward us and then extend it away, this would be more core work. By now, some of you are cursing me because it's a lot of work in the core to move the legs, but even to do simple forward folds, you want to be able to have this cavitation of the belly. So if I were to use this to come into Janu Shirshasana with the knee out to the side, how does that feel? Pull, release, extend. And then this becomes a yoga pose. Inhale, pull in, drop, and fold. And take it as deep as you want. But as you do, are you still feeling that sensation pulling the pot of the belly, particularly on the side of the bent knee? And then coming up and try the other side, pulling other knee in, drop the foot in the knee, fold into the cavitation, pull back from the pot of the belly of the bent knee side. Inhale, come up, and both feet together, Supta Baddha Konasana. So we did this on our backs, and Supta, now regular Baddha Konasana. Again, spreading the pot of the belly apart here as you try to go forward. And sure, you could use your hands, but you're not using your core. So better to have your hands on a chair, what have you, and really feeling how by drawing in that false breath, this is for Eve, that base of the wave, I'm able to eventually go down. One more before we check out, and let's stretch the legs to Upavishta Konasana. And you can take cushions under your knees if you need to. And if you bend the right knee and start to lean to the right and then bend the left knee, we're replicating our motion that we had earlier on the pelvic calves. Just to feel the connection of the core and the pelvic calf. This may allow you to come forward a little bit, just scooping in and see where you can go without losing core. Super important for the forward folds because to just launch into it without the core can often lead to injury. Hopefully that was useful. Very specific class on core with some basic maneuvers leading to advanced poses. And now let's lay on our backs and stretch our legs long. Any other movements you'd like to do, inversions, you can. And otherwise, relax the legs and the arms, and maybe take your hands now flat to the belly. And now we have to fully release that core engagement. The psoas muscle, it's my theory, and Jim is in class, he's a doctor, he's going to laugh. But I feel like there's a sympathy in the psoas and the masseter muscle in the jaw, which I always feel is the psoas of the head or the skull. So make sure your jaw is relaxed and massage your outer cheekbones and belly. Let's bend the knees one at a time, roll off to the side, and come up to seated. And feel if it's any different for you to sit now at the end of class, feeling and sorting your pelvic halves. So instructors often say, walk your sit bones back. And now, do you have a more comfortable seat from having arranged the core? Palms to heart. Namaste.